Hola, soy Chelsea de Amigo English. Tengo una pregunta para ti. Does this sentence seem right? He explained me the problem. Okay, how about this one? I recommend you to check your email. Okay, last one. How about this? She suggested me to try the restaurant. Well, the answer is that all of these sentences are grammatically incorrect. Why? Well, come on in and I will explain in this video. When your first language is Spanish, like many students at Amigo English, it is natural for you to first think of what you want to say in Spanish in your mind and then translate it into English. And because of that, there are certain sentences that make sense in Spanish but don't in English. Today I'll show you 4 translation mistakes students with Spanish as their first language make. Él me explicó el problema. He explained me the problem. This makes sense in Spanish because in Spanish, the indirect object me is placed directly after the verb explico without needing a preposition. On the other hand, in English, explain requires the use of to before the indirect object me. So to make this right in English, you would say, he explained the problem to me. He explained me the problem. Nope. He explained the problem to me. And here are more examples of using explain correctly with to before the indirect object. I will explain you the instructions step by step. Nope. I will explain the instructions to you step by step. She explained the new team members the rules. No. She explained the rules to the new team members. The teacher explained the students the solution. Nope. The teacher explained the solution to the students. He explained his manager the situation. He explained the situation to his manager. The key here is that if you do have someone you are explaining to is necessary before that person. And without it, the sentence is grammatically incorrect. If you don't have someone you are explaining to, it's okay to use without to. For example, I will explain the instructions. He will explain later. I want you to explain. Number 2, suggest. Ella me sugirió probar el restaurante. She suggested me to try the restaurant. This makes sense in Spanish. Why? Because in Spanish, it's normal to attach the indirect object pronoun, me, directly to the verb sugirió, suggest. But in English, the verb suggest doesn't take an indirect object, me, without a clause. What's a clause? A clause is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb. So, to correct the sentence, you must say, she suggested me to try the restaurant? Nope. She suggested that I try the restaurant. And notice here the clause that I try the restaurant comes after the verb suggest. And there are 3 main ways you can use the word suggest. Number 1 is with a that clause. The doctor suggested that I get more rest. Not, the doctor suggested me to get more rest. They suggested that we take a different route. Yes. Not, they suggested us to take a different route. She suggested that the committee take a different approach. Not, she suggested the committee to take a different approach. Notice here it's take, not takes. And this is because of the rule of subjunctive mood. When hypothetical verbs like suggest, recommend, insist, wish, demand are followed by a that clause, the verb in the clause uses the base form, which is infinitive without to, and with no conjugation, regardless of the subject. Subjunctive means hypothetical. So when you're suggesting, recommending, insisting, wishing, demanding, you are imagining something that hasn't happened yet, right? So for example, I recommend that he study more. And it's not, I recommend that he studies more. The teacher insisted that the student be on time. The teacher insisted that the student is on time. They demanded that the room be cleaned. They demanded that the room is cleaned. Another way of using the verb suggest correctly is with to and noun as the recipient. So recipient just means who's receiving whatever suggestion, right? So he suggested the book to me. I'm the recipient. Here, notice that we are saying it is suggested to me, not he suggested me the book. Or using what we learned just now, the that clause, we can say he suggested that I read the book. Another example is she suggested a different approach to the committee, not she suggested the committee a different approach. Lastly, you can use the verb suggest with a gerund form, verb plus ing. The teacher suggested reviewing the material before the test. Or the teacher suggested that we review the material before the test using the that clause. My friend suggested visiting the new gallery downtown. Or using the that clause, my friend suggested that we visit the new gallery downtown. Pause. Before we continue, if you want to subscribe to our free newsletter to get English lessons in your email inbox, I listed down the link below. And if you want a real immersive English learning experience, try Amigo English. Amigo English is a virtual study abroad experience where you will feel like you're living in New York. You practice English with real people, and Amigo AI gives you feedback on your real English conversations with real people, not with robots. The Amigo method follows the famous researcher Stephen Krashen's immersion theory of second language acquisition. And all our curriculums are based on CEFR framework, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. All right, with that, let's get back to the lesson. And number 3, recommend. The same rule applies to the verb recommend. Another common mistake. Te recomiendo estudiar más. I recommend you to study more. This makes sense, again, because in Spanish, it's natural to place the indirect object pronoun te before the verb recomiendo. Infinitive, estudiar, follows without requiring an additional structure. However, in English, the same rule from the verb suggest apply. Remember those 3 rules? I recommend you to study more. No. With a that clause, that plus subject and verb, you can say, I recommend that you study more. Or with a to plus noun as the recipient, I recommend this book to you. Right? Here, to you specifies the recipient of the recommendation, and this book is the object being recommended. To you. Or with a gerund, verb ing, she recommended trying the new restaurant. Trying the new restaurant. In this case, trying is the gerund form, indicating an action being recommended. The last one, provide. ¿Puedes proporcionarles información? A literal translation would say, can you provide to them information? This is because Spanish often uses a preposition, a or para, with indirect object, les, to indicate the recipient. However, in English, we do not use to with provide. Can you provide them with information is correct. The teacher provided the students the materials. The teacher provided the students with the materials. Correct. The only time where you can use to with provide is when it's a sentence in a passive form, not an active form. For example, the materials were provided to the students. Here, the students are passive, receiving the materials. So here you can use to in front of the recipient. All right, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye. Do you think I should keep speaking Spanish in my future videos, even though it's horrible? Let me know in the comments below.